I'm Ava Whitaker, 31, and 2 years ago, I crossed the threshold of a place I never believed I could afford, a two-bedroom condo in downtown Seattle with exposed brick and a shy view of the Sound if you lean a little off the balcony. I planted herbs in a row of mismatched terracotta pots because my grandmother said mint forgives beginners. I needed something to forgive me for not being home enough. Late nights in tech, tight budgets, and the kind of weekends where laundry is a luxury, not a guarantee. If you walked in at golden hour, you'd see how the light finds every old imperfection in the brick and decides to love it anyway. That's how I feel about this place. It's imperfect, but it's mine. My sister Hannah is 27, unafraid of glitter, and newly engaged to Marcus, the kind of man who adds a cloth napkin to a burger because presentation matters. My boyfriend Ethan says Marcus is a nice guy with expensive taste, which is Seattle for, he's fine, but also, yikes. Hannah has always been the free spirit. She can hop on a plane for Bali with a backpack and a 3-line plan. I admire her nerve. I envy it, even. Our parents, Michael and Sarah, are smitten with the engagement and went straight into fairy tale mode. Mom is a Pinterest board in human form. Dad keeps practicing the walk her down the aisle smile that makes his eyes crinkle. Last Sunday, we did our ritual dinner at their house. Roast chicken, overachieving green beans, and a berry pie cooling on the back porch like a Norman Rockwell painting set in Ballard. We were all a little high on sugar and family when Hannah cleared her throat and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the move she uses when she's about to ask for something she knows is big. Ava, she started, with the soft voice that always makes me brace. You know how much Marcus and I appreciate you. I set my fork down. Ethan's knee bumped mine under the table. A silent hello, a gentle, I'm here. Across from us, Marcus studied his plate like it contained tax law. Hannah inhaled. We've been thinking about the wedding and, our start together. It doesn't make sense for you to be rattling around in that massive condo alone while we're cramped in my place. The room tilted just a degree. Massive condo. I looked at Mom. Her hopeful smile said she'd heard this before. Dad frowned at his water glass. Ethan's knee pressed lightly into mine again. Are you hearing this? What are you saying? I asked, though I already knew the shape of it. Hannah brightened as if the hard part was done. We think it would be best to swap apartments, just for 6 months, maybe a year. You could take my rental, it's cozy, and we could move into your condo while we get settled. It would be such a relief to start our marriage in a nice place. You work so much anyway. Silence, not the peaceful kind, the kind that screams. I own my condo, Han, I said slowly. I have a mortgage. Your place is a rental. She waved like that was paperwork, not reality. We can work out details. Maybe you keep paying your mortgage, obviously, and we'll cover my rent. It's cheaper, so we'd be saving you money, actually, since we take care of the place. I laughed. I didn't mean to. It came out strangled and bright. No, that's not going to happen. Hannah's smile faltered. Ava, I'm getting married. Don't you want me to be happy? Ethan's hand found mine under the table. He didn't squeeze. He just anchored. Marcus finally looked up. We'd keep it really nice, he offered, like I'd been agonizing about their housekeeping rather than my entire financial future. Mom stepped in, voice sugar soft and lethal. Honey, nobody's asking you to give anything up, really. Just a temporary arrangement. Family helps family. Helping, I said, choosing each word like it might explode, is not giving up my home. Dad cleared his throat. Maybe there's a compromise. A few months until the wedding. I turned to Hannah. Why do you think you deserve my condo? She stopped, eyes watering. Because this is supposed to be my moment, and Marcus's family already thinks I'm not good enough. Starting in your condo would show them we're serious. I tasted metal in my mouth. Then Marcus's family can help you impress Marcus's family. Hannah's tears trembled, then hardened. She glanced at Mom, then at Dad. I can't believe you'd be this selfish. There it was, the word that tries to turn your spine into jelly. Selfish. All my late nights, all the years I made soup from whatever was left, all the skipped parties to make an extra payment, suddenly recast as hoarding. Ethan spoke for the first time, gentle. No one here is selfish for protecting the home they worked for. Hannah ignored him. It's just property, Ava. Family is more important than things. Then don't make family compete with things, I said, because you won't win. The table broke like thin ice. Marcus folded in on himself. Mom's lips went white. Dad stared at the wall clock as if time could rescue us. I stood, napkin shaking in my hand. I love you, Hannah. I'll help you move. I'll contribute to the wedding within my budget, but I will not swap apartments. Not for a week. Not for a day. Hannah's phone buzzed, and she looked down, blinking back tears as if I'd slapped her. You're dead to me for this, she whispered. Don't expect an invitation. Ethan rose when I did. Mom called my name, pleading, a tremor in her voice that made me want to fold. But when I looked at her, I saw the quiet conspiracy of expectant faces, the whole room rearranging itself so that my boundary looked like betrayal. Outside, the air smelled like wet cedar and old summer. Ethan didn't say you did the right thing, because sometimes the right thing still feels like falling. He walked beside me to the car and opened the passenger door like it was a vow. On the drive home, texts began to land in my phone like hailstones. Aunt Patricia, be the bigger person. Cousin Jen, successful people should uplift others. Even Grandma chimed in. When I was young, family shared everything. I thought of my herbs on the balcony, small and stubborn, turned toward the light. When we reached my building, Ethan parked and let the engine idle. Say what you're thinking, I told him, staring at my reflection in the window. Two versions of me overlaying the good daughter and the bad sister. He took a breath. I'm thinking you didn't make this hard. They did. And I'm thinking boundaries are love-wearing work boots. I laughed, a little broken around the edges. The condo felt different when we stepped inside, like it was bracing with me, listening. An hour later, Hannah texted, I can't believe you're being this stubborn. I thought you loved me. I do love you, I wrote back. That doesn't mean I owe you my home. There was a long pause, then, it's just property. I stared at those 3 words and felt the strangest thing, the light from the big window warming the brick, the breath easing out of my chest. It's my life, I typed, and put the phone face down. I watered the mint. It forgave me. The room went quiet except for the hum of the city, and somewhere, beneath the hum, a new sound rose, like a hinge that's been stuck for years, finally loosening. I didn't know yet about the lawyer at the next dinner, or the midnight fists on my door, or the way a wedding could shatter without a single piece of cake cut. I only knew that the ground under me was solid, and for once I was standing on it. Tea? Ethan asked from the kitchen. Yes, I said, mint. He smiled, forgiving kind. Out on the balcony, the sound was ink dark, the fairy light slipping across it like a pulse. I held the warm mug to my cheek and tried to map the night for trouble. It's funny, when people tell you you're selfish, what they're usually asking is that you bleed. I took a sip, tasted green and sun, and a small stubborn promise. I wasn't going to bleed for a fairy tale. The next Tuesday, I missed 3 shots in a row at the community gym, and Tyler caught the ball like it had insulted him. You're playing like you're in an HR meeting, he said. What's up? I told him. By the second paragraph, his eyebrows had left his face. By the third, he'd switched to lawyer voice. Mortgage occupancy clauses, he said, dry as a statute book. Insurance fraud exposure. Constructive tenancy risk. If they move in, you might need to evict your own sister to get your place back. Do not do this. Also, the financials. Ava, it's a guaranteed loss. I said no, I told him, though it sounded flimsier than I wanted. My family, they made it sound like I'd kicked a puppy. Tyler bounced the ball once. Invite me to Sunday dinner. Absolutely not. Invite me, he repeated softer. They'll hear it better from me than from you. Ethan wasn't thrilled about deploying a lawyer to a roast, but when Sunday arrived, he squeezed my hand on the porch and murmured, boots on the boundary. Inside, the table was set for détente. Florals, cloth napkins, the good plates. Mom's smile wobbled when she saw Tyler. Oh, she said, and then, brighter, Tyler, we haven't seen you in ages. Thank you for having me, Mrs. Whitaker, he said, all polite edges. He's my friend, but in a suit, he becomes architecture. For most of the meal, we pretended our family was normal. Marcus asked Ethan about a Mariners game he hadn't watched. Dad explained a grill upgrade. Hannah complimented the chicken, as if compliments were currency, and she had decided to be generous. Dessert arrived like a scene cue. Mom placed a berry pie between us, the crust a lattice of false calm. Hannah folded her hands. So, she said lightly, Ava, have you had time to rethink? Ethan's knee touched mine. Tyler set down his fork. I have rethought, I said evenly. The answer is still no. Dad exhaled through his nose. 6 months, Ava. Your sister's starting a life. Tyler cleared his throat. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Mr. Whitaker, Mrs. Whitaker, if I may, I'm a real estate attorney. There are several serious legal and financial issues with what's being proposed. Mom's eyes flashed. This is a family matter, Tyler. With legal consequences, he replied, calm as a metronome. If Ava represents to her lender that the property is her primary residence and then vacates while others occupy it, she may violate her mortgage's occupancy clause. If she keeps homeowner's insurance as an owner-occupant while not occupying, there could be a denial of coverage. If any claim is made and an investigation reveals misrepresentation, that's very serious. The room went still. Even the kitchen clock seemed to hold its tick. And tenancy, Tyler continued. The moment Hannah and Marcus establish residence, mail, belongings, duration, you're not borrowing a place, you're tenants. If things sour, Ava would have to pursue a formal eviction, which is lengthy, public, and deeply unpleasant. For siblings, it's a relationship guillotine. Mom recovered first. No one is talking about courts. That's the point, Tyler said mildly. You don't talk about courts until you're in one. Hannah's cheeks flushed. We'd take care of it. We'd take care of her place. You're making it sound criminal. Tyler tilted his head. Let's talk money then. Ava continues paying her mortgage. You offer to cover your rent on your current apartment, which is what, a third of her payment? He looked at Marcus, who stared at the pie. Marcus swallowed. Roughly. So Ava subsidizes your lifestyle to the tune of thousands a month, Tyler said. Over a year, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars. Is your family offering to reimburse her? Is there a written lease? Escrowed deposit? Condition inspection? Liability? Because otherwise what you're asking is not family helps family. It's Ava pays for our wedding with the deed to her future. Hannah's chair scraped. It's not about money. If it's not, Tyler said gently, then why aren't you offering to pay her full mortgage plus your own rent, since she'd be taking on additional expenses? We can't afford that, Hannah snapped. Tyler looked at her kindly. Exactly. Dad's jaw worked. Young man, I've known your daughter for years, Tyler said, respectful, steady. I care about this family. That's why I'm telling you. This plan could harm Ava's credit, insurance, and legal standing. It could also poison your relationships beyond repair. If you want to support Hannah and Marcus, there are many ways. Budget a wedding within means, help them hunt for a starter place, co-sign if you choose. But asking Ava to surrender her home is not support, it's sacrifice. Something in the air shifted, like pressure before a storm breaks. Mom turned to me, wounded. Is this what you think of us? That we're trying to ruin your life? I swallowed. I think you're excited about a wedding and not hearing what you're asking me to risk. I love Hannah. I will help. But my answer is no. Hannah stood, hands shaking, eyes sharp with a kind of pain that wants a target. You brought a lawyer to dinner to bully me. I brought my friend, I said, because you wouldn't hear me. Ethan finally spoke, voice low. No one here is bullying you, Hannah. We're clarifying the cost. Marcus pushed back from the table. Maybe we should go, he muttered. Sit, Hannah hissed. He sat. Mom pressed her napkin flat, then folded it again, as if by correcting its corners she could correct the night. Ava, she said, pleading now, what if it were temporary, truly temporary? Even then, the risk remains, Tyler said. Law and money don't grade on sentiment. Hannah pointed at him. Get out. Tyler looked to me. I nodded once. He stood. Thank you for dinner. My door is open if any of you want to talk options that keep everyone whole. He left. Ethan rose with him, then paused, meeting my mother's eyes. Mrs. Whitaker, he said softly, I know you want harmony, but harmony without boundaries is just a pretty word for resentment. The front door closed. I sat there, inside the crater of my own choice. For a second I felt 12 years old, the kid who kept her report cards quiet so Hannah's trophies would shine. Then the feeling passed. I was 31, and my mint plant had roots. Hannah grabbed her bag, knocking over a water glass. I'm done with this. She looked at me like she was memorizing a grudge. Don't expect an invitation. Marcus stood uncertainly. Come on, she said, and he went, shoulders rounded. Silence rewrapped the table. Dad cleared his throat. You've put us in an impossible position, Ava. No, I said gently. I've put myself in a safe one. When Ethan and I reached the porch, the air was damp and metallic, a storm thinking about itself. He tucked my hair behind my ear, the kind of small intimacy that feels like a gate clicking shut. You okay? I don't know, I admitted. I feel like I just asked the ocean to respect tape lines. He smiled, but not with his eyes. Oceans don't, but seawalls do. On the drive home, my phone buzzed and buzzed. Tyler texted, "Proud of you. Happy to send your folks a short memo summarizing risks if useful." I typed, "Maybe later," and watched the city slide by, brick and glass, and 1,000 private windows. In bed, Ethan traced slow circles on my palm, a map with no legend. "You didn't make this hard," he whispered into the dark. "You told the truth. Sometimes the truth is heavy." I thought of Hannah's face, how something in it had hardened when she felt the door closing. I thought of Marcus, quiet, doing math he didn't want to do. I thought of Mom folding and refolding the napkin because the only thing she could control was cotton. Before sleep, a petty thought came and went like a spark. Maybe they'll finally realize I'm not the villain of their story just because I won't play prop. Then a different thought, gentler. I'm allowed to be the main character in my own life. At 3 a.m., rain started. It sounded like confession. Somewhere in the night, the next move lined itself up without asking what I wanted. Posts, calls, pressure, and a casual message from a woman I didn't know, the kind that wears friendship like perfume. But that would be tomorrow. Tonight, I lay in my own bed, in my own home, listening to the rain say what I couldn't. No can be holy. The storm didn't end with that dinner. It just changed shape. It began with silence. Then came whispers disguised as concern. The first Monday after, Mom called during my lunch break. Her voice had that brittle sweetness, like glass wrapped in tissue. "Honey, your sister is heartbroken. She said you brought a lawyer to dinner. Was that necessary?" "He's my friend, Mom," I said, "and necessary is subjective. Your father thinks there's room for compromise. There isn't." She sighed, long and weary, as if my boundary were a burden she had to carry. That night, Hannah's social media lit up like a fireworks show. Quotes about toxic family members who block your blessings and people who value property over love. My notifications filled with mutual acquaintances tagging me under vague posts. Ethan rolled his eyes. "Classic projection," he said. "Classic Hannah," I muttered. But what gutted me was the quiet shame, the way her narrative twisted mine until even I started to doubt. The old guilt crept in like fog. A week later, Dad called while I was debugging code at work. "Sweetheart, your mother's losing sleep. Can't you just find a middle ground?" "Like what? They move in on weekends?" "Maybe help with their down payment. You're doing well." "Dad, everything I have is in my condo in retirement. I can't bankroll a wedding fantasy." "Marriage changes people, Ava. Your sister will grow up." "I hope so," I said, "but not on my mortgage." That night, as if the universe wanted to test me, a new message appeared in my DMs. It was from Sloane, Ethan's ex-girlfriend, the one who still liked old couple photos of them out of nostalgia or spite. Her message read, "Hey, Ava, saw Hannah's post. Maybe family just needs grace, you know? You can't live life hoarding security. We all share what we love." I stared at it, pulse tightening. Sloane had worked with Hannah once at the yoga studio. Of course they'd bonded. Of course she'd weigh in like a self-anointed moral compass. Ethan frowned when I showed him. "Block her," he said flatly. "She's baiting me." Don't bite. But the damage was done. The posts, the whispers, the moralizing. They formed a chorus designed to make me question my sanity. Then Marcus texted. "Marcus, can we meet for coffee?" Me. "If this is about Hannah, I'm not—" "Marcus, please, it's not what you think." We met at a quiet cafe near Pike Place. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept in days. "I had no idea she was going to ask for your condo," he said immediately. "When she mentioned it later, I told her it was insane. But once she sets her mind on something..." He trailed off. "Yeah," I said. "I know. She's been difficult since the engagement. Everything's about image. The wedding, the venue, her dress. When I suggested a smaller ceremony, she cried for 2 hours and accused me of not believing in her dreams." His voice cracked slightly. He wasn't angry, just defeated. "I'm sorry you're in the middle of this," I told him. He rubbed his temples. "Your parents are enabling it. They offered to pay for an upgraded venue. I know they can't afford that." "They think they're helping," I said. "They're feeding a fire." Marcus laughed bitterly. "Yesterday she said living in your condo would balance her energy for marriage, like real estate is therapy." I didn't mean to smile, but I did. "And what did you say?" "I said her energy might need a job before it needs a condo." We both laughed, tired, sad laughter. Then his eyes softened. I really thought she'd grow out of this, Ava, but I'm starting to see she might not want to. When we parted, I felt an ache of pity for him, and a strange, guilty relief. Someone else had seen the madness. Back home, Ethan waited on the couch with 2 mugs of tea. How was Marcus? Broken, I said, but honest. Ethan handed me the mug. That's something. Outside, rain stitched the window glass. My phone buzzed again. A new text from Dad. We all need to sit down and find peace. Maybe Tyler can stay out of this next time. And from Hannah, moments later. You've turned everyone against me. I'm not done, Ava. Her words burned through the quiet. I set my phone down and leaned into Ethan's shoulder. This is turning into a war I never wanted. He brushed my hair back. You didn't start it. You just refused to surrender. He was right, but in families like ours, refusal is heresy. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the echo of Hannah's promise. I'm not done. A chill ran through me. Not fear exactly, but the awareness that the next wave was already building. And when it broke, it wouldn't be over text. 2 weeks later, the storm hit for real. Not a message, not a call, but a full-blown public meltdown disguised as a celebration. Hannah threw a wedding planning party at our parents' house, champagne, mood boards, silk swatches, an event for bridesmaids, and, apparently, anyone willing to tell her she was radiant. Mom texted me an invite. I didn't go. Ethan had offered to take me out of town for the weekend, and I took the out. By 8 p.m., my phone started buzzing. First, Ashley, one of Hannah's bridesmaids. You will not believe this. She's losing it. Then a second message. She just threw a magazine at me. Later, I learned how it unfolded. After 2 glasses of champagne, Ashley, sweet, steady, endlessly patient, had finally said what everyone was thinking. Hannah, I love you, but what you asked Ava to do is insane. You can't guilt your sister into giving you her condo. You're turning this wedding into a circus. The room went still. Hannah blinked, then erupted. You sound just like her. Everyone's against me. You have no idea how hard this is. Mom tried to calm her. Honey, maybe Ashley has a point. This is your fault, Hannah shouted. You and Dad should have made Ava share. You always let her be selfish. That stopped Mom cold. And then, for the first time since this whole thing began, she said something I never thought she would. Ava isn't being selfish, sweetheart. We were wrong to push her. Later, Mom would tell me Hannah's face just cracked, like the mask couldn't hold anymore. She grabbed her keys, stormed out, and drove straight to Marcus's apartment. Marcus called me the next morning. She demanded I choose between her and my family, he said quietly. I chose sanity. The engagement was over. That night, at 11:47 p.m., pounding at my door woke me. Ethan sat up first. Stay back, he whispered, already halfway to the door. Hannah's voice sliced through the hallway. Open up, you ruined my life. I froze. She was sobbing, but there was fury under it, something wild. Go home, Hannah, I called through the door. We can talk tomorrow. Tomorrow? You destroyed everything. Marcus left me because of you. Marcus left you because you wouldn't stop controlling everyone, I said, heart hammering. I'm your sister. You're supposed to help me. Help doesn't mean surrender, I said. She pounded again. A neighbor's door opened down the hall, then another. Ethan stepped into view, phone in hand. Leave now, he said firmly, or I'm calling security. Her voice cracked. You think you're better than me? You and your perfect little life. From behind her, another voice cut through, calm, steady, unmistakable. Tyler. He must have heard the commotion from his building down the street. Hannah, he said, you need to leave. Right now. This is harassment. Of course you're here, she spat. This is all your fault with your stupid legal talk. It's my fault you tried to steal your sister's home? Tyler said evenly. No, you need to leave before I make this official. For a second, I thought she'd fight. Then her shoulders crumpled. She looked at me, eyes red, mascara streaked, and in that moment, not a villain, just a lost kid in a grown woman's crisis. I never want to see you again, she whispered. Then she turned and ran down the hall. When the echo of her footsteps faded, I realized my hands were shaking. Tyler exhaled. You okay? I nodded, though my throat was tight. She used to come to my room when she had nightmares, I said softly. Now she is one. He gave a half smile. Nightmares pass. Lock your door, keep your lights on, and don't feel guilty for surviving someone else's storm. Ethan wrapped his arm around me. For the first time, I let myself cry. Not the sharp, defensive tears of anger, but the quiet kind you cry when something sacred between siblings breaks. When they left, I sat on the couch until dawn, watching the light crawl up the buildings across the street. I'd drawn a boundary and paid the price, but somewhere under the wreckage, a strange calm took root. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. In the weeks that followed, silence settled like dust. No calls from Hannah, no new posts, just absence, a void big enough for regret to echo in. Then one afternoon, Mom called again, her voice trembling in a new way. "Ava," she said, "your sister started therapy. She wants to talk to you." For a long moment, I said nothing. The part of me that wanted peace tugged hard against the part that remembered the pounding at my door. "Okay," I said finally, "but we meet in public." Mom exhaled relief. "She's really trying this time, honey." I didn't believe it yet, but I wanted to. Because even after everything, she was still my sister. And some doors, no matter how much damage they've taken, you can't quite seal forever. 2 months later, I sat in a downtown coffee shop, waiting. The same corner booth Hannah and I used to share in college, back when she'd borrow my sweaters and promise to return them, never meaning to. The smell of espresso and rain made time feel circular. When she walked in, I almost didn't recognize her. No makeup, hair pulled back, eyes swollen but soft. She looked small, human in a way she hadn't for a long time. "Hi," she said quietly. "Thanks for meeting me." "Hi," my voice came out even. "Mom said you wanted to talk." She nodded and sat down. Her hands trembled around her coffee cup. "I owe you an apology," she said. "A real one." I stayed silent. "My therapist helped me realize I've spent my whole life comparing myself to you. You were the responsible one. The career, the condo, the relationship that looked steady. I wanted something that would make Mom and Dad proud too. When Marcus proposed, I thought it was finally my turn to win." Her voice cracked. "But instead of earning what I wanted, I tried to take what you had. I told myself it was family, but really, it was envy." The honesty hit like a tide. I hadn't expected it. "Why?" I asked quietly. "Why my condo? Why that?" She wiped her nose, eyes red, because it represented everything I wasn't. Stability, success, control. You built it, and I wanted the shortcut. A version of your life without the work. That's entitlement, Ava. That's who I became. I watched her fingers tighten around her cup, knuckles pale. "I'm not asking you to forgive me today," she continued. "I just needed you to know that I see it now. I see how awful it was. Not just to you, but to myself. I destroyed my relationship, my friendships, even my reputation. Ashley won't talk to me. Marcus moved out of state." She gave a short, broken laugh. "The therapist said losing everything was probably the only way I'd learn." For the first time, I saw her without the armor. Not defiant or defensive, just raw. "I appreciate you saying that," I said finally. "I really do. But Hannah, forgiveness isn't automatic. Boundaries don't vanish just because you're sorry." She nodded quickly. "I know. I don't want your condo. I don't even want to step inside it. I just want, maybe someday, your trust again." Something loosened in my chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, but air. We talked for an hour. About therapy, about her new full-time marketing job Marcus had helped her get before the breakup, about her new habit of budgeting and saving. She spoke about accountability, like someone learning a new language. As we got up to leave, she said softly, "Tell Tyler I said thank you. He was right about everything. I hated him for it, but he saved me from myself." "You can tell him yourself," I said. "He'll listen." A small smile flickered. "Maybe I will." 6 months later, life had softened around the edges. Sunday dinners had resumed. The first one was awkward. Mom overcompensating with desserts, Dad apologizing with extra napkins, but eventually, laughter returned in cautious fragments. Hannah came every week, quieter, steadier. Therapy had become part of her rhythm. She'd saved enough for a deposit and started touring apartments. One evening, she texted me a link. "Hannah, what do you think of this one bedroom? Safe area, close to work. Within my budget. Me. It's perfect. Go for it." Hannah, I wanted your opinion because you actually know this stuff. It hit me then. She wasn't competing anymore. She was asking for guidance. The following month, I helped her move. Nothing fancy, just boxes, a thrift store sofa, and one plant she swore she'd keep alive. When we finished, she handed me a bottle of cheap sparkling wine. "For your help," she said. "Don't worry, I bought it myself." I laughed, and for the first time it didn't feel strained. That night, back at my condo, Ethan poured us both a glass of wine on the balcony. The city lights shimmered off the sound. "Your sister's really changing," he said. She is, I admitted. It's weird. I don't flinch when her name pops up on my phone anymore. He smiled. That's growth, for both of you. I looked out at the skyline, the condo lights, the tiny world I'd fought to keep. You know what's funny? I used to think my apartment was the whole point, but it's not. The real thing I was protecting wasn't a property, it was my self-respect. Ethan brushed his thumb over my hand. Boundaries are love in plain clothes. I laughed. Tyler said that once. Smart man. 2 weeks later, Tyler called after having coffee with Hannah. She gets it now, he said. Like, really gets it. She said she finally understands that what she did wasn't just manipulative, it was potentially illegal. You believe her? I asked. I believe she's doing the work, and she's terrified of backsliding. A pause. She's proud of you, you know. That night, I found myself scrolling through old photos, birthdays, family trips, even one where Hannah and I were painting thrifted furniture together in our 20s. We were covered in specks of white paint, laughing at something I can't remember now. For the first time in months, I didn't feel angry, just grateful we weren't frozen in that old version of ourselves anymore. A week before her move-in, Hannah stopped by the condo with a small box. Inside was a mint plant. For your balcony, she said, smiling. Forgiving kind, right? I laughed, the sound surprising both of us. You remembered. I remember everything, she said softly, even the worst parts. That's how I make sure they don't happen again. We hugged, careful, real. When she left, I placed the mint next to the old one. 2 plants side by side, one grown through stormlight, one just beginning. And as the evening settled in, I realized something simple and profound. Sometimes saying no is the first step towards saying yes. To peace, to growth, to the kind of love that doesn't demand sacrifice. The wedding that started it all never happened, but maybe that's the point. Because in losing that fairy tale, we found something truer, a family that finally learned the difference between helping and taking, between love and ownership. Hannah's moving into her own place next week, a small apartment she earned herself. And for once, I'm not anxious about the future. I'm proud. The mint leaves rustle in the breeze outside my window, a whisper of forgiveness and resilience. And I smile because this time, no one's taking my home or my peace again.